This is Spanish 2, week 7. First thing we start out with is the quiz. And so I usually have the chairs lined on the walls and I place the quizzes on their chairs so when they come in they can start. And so that takes about 12 minutes usually. And then we come for circle time or whatever you want to call it to do our conversation. Each week we add something new. We do the same conversation every week, but we add a new sentence or a new phrase. So for this week, the new part is where they're ordering for food. If they're using the formal voice, then they would say sus instead of tus when they're serving them their food. So this person has ordered something to eat, and the waiter is bringing them their food, and they're saying, here's your enchiladas and rice, or something like that. And then, actually, this one is, he is serving the drinks. And so next, he then asks, what are you going to eat? So it goes like this: sus enchiladas, sus horchata y café, que van a comer? And so that is how you would ask someone what they want to order and how you would take them their drinks. So the conversation goes like this: Buenas tardes, hola, ¿cómo están ustedes? Bien, gracias. ¿Y usted? Bien. ¿Qué van a tomar? ¿Tiene una botella de agua? No, no tengo una botella de agua. Para ellos, quieren la leche, por favor. Para mí, quiero un café, por favor. Sus leche y café. ¿Qué van a comer? Queremos enchiladas, arroz y frijoles. And then if I end it there, then they usually just play around with their goodbye statements, their thank yous, things like that, so that they are trying to come up with those, and I'm not always giving those to them. Then whoever they practice their conversation with is who they then practice their vocabulary with. And then it is time for the oral quiz. And actually, before we jump into the oral quiz, we usually review our conjugations. So we're also practicing pronunciation as we review our conjugations. And so we're doing ir and ver this week. And so I will just point to a pronoun, and then they have to say the verb as we go around the room. So usually I just have a list of pronouns that they can use to then conjugate the verbs. So for our quiz, I usually pick one or two words from each section in the vocab list. So this is in those bound handouts. And then while we take the oral quiz, the people who have earned the privilege of being with our Spanish speaker goes in the hallway, or they take a deck of cards. And then when they return, generally that's also when we serve food, and we introduce the country of the week and the capital. So for this week, it was Chile, and its capital is Santiago. And then we love to share just silly facts about Chile or interesting facts. And so one fact is that they're famous for Easter Island. There's some ancient unknown statues that a lot of people recognize from movies. And then who would ever think that penguins live in Chile? But there are 60,000 that live in Chile. And then also Chile is full of volcanoes. There are over 1,300 volcanoes in Chile. Next, we would read our Bible, and I try to replace one or two Spanish words or English words with Spanish each day. This is one of the Salmos that El Rey David wrote. El Señor es mi pastor. He gives me todos I necesito. He lets me lie down in fields of verde grass. He leads me beside tranquilas aguas. He gives me new strength. He guides me in the right paths for the honor of his nombre. Even though I walk through the oscuro valley, I will not have miedo. You, Dios, are conmigo. Your shepherd's rod and staff comfort me. You prepare a feast for me, right in front of mis enemigos. You pour oil on my cabeza. Mi copa runs over. I am sure that your goodness and love will follow me all the días of my vida, and I will live in the casa of el Señor forever. And then after the Bible story, we do our lesson. And so we have dar and decir today. And dar is to give, decir is to say. Obviously, very common verbs and would be great to learn. One of the things about these verbs is that they are irregular. And so it's important to know which ones are irregular. So for dar, only the yo form of the verb is irregular with the y on the end as doy. For decir, the first vowel changes to an I for all the conjugations that we'll be testing on except for nosotros. So it's digo, dices, dice, and dicen. And notice that G as well is added to the yo form. Then we're also learning how to do objects. And so we would say in English, Jesus loves you. And in Spanish, they just reverse the you and love. So they would say, Jesus, you loves. And so in Spanish, that would be Jesús te ama. Then we move on to our presentations. There are usually 1 or 2 each week. And we end with some sort of game.